Panda band.
I don't
I
know.
figure we
Yeah.
can. I don't know. I figure we can step up our game a little bit. I still say we go back to the sitar and just the sitar, or what is it? The
No,
wah,
didgeridoo.
wah, wah, the didgeridoo. Let's leave that on the
Yeah.
table. We'll figure it out if we
You,
got the budget for it for 2022. The
you think that,
didgeridoo
that
Nissan Nerd theme song. That's what we need to do. So,
do you think that guy's still alive? The guy we saw with the didgeridoo? Like,
well,
what's the life expectancy of a didgeridoo person?
I think
Just
they're
based.
like old blues people from like the 40s who were like tripped out
they
on
s-
like heroin and stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
these guys have their own thing. Like I don't know, didgeridoo. What is all right?
They they've seen some things, man. That's all I'm gonna say.
They've gone to the dark side of the moon. Yeah, good point. All right. We are back live again, Mike. This is episode
Yes.
number 38 for us here on the
Yeah, it
Nissan Nerd
is.
Podcast checklist.
Mm-hmm.
If you are following along, thank you for joining us today. We've got a lot to cover today, Mike. In Nissan news, a lot of stuff has happened,
Yep.
some good, some bad. We're definitely going to talk about all that here today. Give them the lineup, Mike D.
Let's go for it. All right, guys. On this episode of the Nissan Nerd Podcast, Infiniti marks its birthday by debuting its brand origin series. We'll talk about that later. We're going to give you details about the Nissan GT-R retiring from the Super GT 500 class. Miles, you've got that article. And then later on, we're going to talk about some amazing deals that we've made as part of our time as enthusiasts, as part of our back alley chat. So that is coming up. Stick with us here on the Nissan Nerd Podcast. Coming up.
I swear to God, that song gets shorter and shorter every time we play it.
Well,
So
that's good. Then I mean, if it's are you saying you're not dreading it as much if it's becoming shorter, or I don't know.
I don't know. I think I'm just getting used to it. I mean, it's my theme song for everything. I actually drive up to the club with that song playing.
Shut up.
For one, I don't go to the club as much, and then for two, the sound system, if it's other than stock, I mean, I'm pretty much just
Yeah.
rocking it out of the tape deck, the pull-out
Yeah.
tape deck from the 1980s. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
how we roll these days. So,
Before we start, Miles, I want to let you know that I fell for it once again.
oh, go on. What do you got?
So a week and a half ago, you call me and you say, "Hey, Mike, how about we go get some dinner and talk about the podcast? Business stuff, behind the scenes type of stuff." I,
Oh, yeah,
I,
this is how
yeah,
I get you every time.
yeah.
Come on.
See, I fell for it again. I pull up to your house and you're like decked out in like the jeans with, and then you got the chain. I never knew you had a chain for your jeans, and then you got the
Talking about
dog.
it's
The
not a chain for the
it,
jeans,
what is
Mike. And I realize again, we've discussed this where all your clothes are,
from car shows? Yeah, I know.
from car shows at Walmart in a combination. And I'm not too far off. I'm like I
Well,
only
look,
buy exclusively Dickies, and which is still at Walmart anyway.
yeah.
But no, I'm a chain wallet, steel toe boots kind of dude, and that's just how I've always been and lived my life. But yeah,
Well,
I guess I dragged you out to a nightclub to broaden your horizons, is what I
you
would
you did, man. I don't know. I was going to ask you, was it planned? So for those of you with us, thank you for being here. Miles took me to a Casualties concert, which is, I mean, on the scale of punk level concerts, how would you rank it, Miles? I would imagine they're probably up there.
They're pretty hot. I would say that's a solid seven
Yeah,
for the casualties. They've been around for a hot minute and known for
amazing time.
getting some good physical activity in the middle of the show, as
Yeah,
far as like a good mosh pit and whatnot. So yeah, we had a good time, and I'm
it,
I'm glad you had an opportunity to attend
yeah.
because quite honestly, you need a little thrashing every once in a while. You know,
I tell you what, I did enjoy myself. I saw a lot of people just having a time of their lives. People discovering, like, yeah, these kids, like teenagers. I mean, just kind of just you saw them having that formative moment in their lives, being on stage and jumping into the crowd, that they're never going to forget that, and it's going to, for the days after that, it's going to become
Yeah.
more and more of their personality, which I saw a lot of people having some great moments out there. So I appreciate you taking me.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's all about getting in the pit and showing some love. I wish you would have had a facial scar, quite honestly, from something like that, because that's something you definitely do not forget. Quite honestly, I wish I had more facial scars. Um, you know, so be like a person on the season of Lost or something. Wow, that's an old reference, but yeah, just something like that, or an eye patch. I mean, who doesn't look cool with an eye patch? I'm just throwing it out there. So.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Moving on with our lives, I'm glad you didn't get hurt, Mike. I hope you learned something.
yeah,
And maybe next time we'll get you a little deeper in the deeper down the rabbit hole. So yeah,
yeah.
all right,
It was a lot of
adios.
fun, man. Huh?
So before we get into anything else, we do have to do our traditional salute to those in the
Yes.
Nissan family whom we wish good health, and to those that we remember a little kampai.
Kanpai.
Shh. Actually,
Thanks,
speaking of that,
guys.
in my Mr. K glass.
Mm.
Hmm.
Oh
All
man,
right. Well, Mike, let's see here. We've got a lot to come over today. I think you were first up on the articles. Drop it on them, man.
let's go for it. So I'm gonna share this this site with you. Let me go and add it here. Let's see, where are we? Feel like in my 50s. What? What? Yeah, there you go. All right.
Yeah.
Now, November this month marks the 32nd birthday of Infiniti launching as a brand. Of course, Infinity's been around by these by today's standards. Infinity is a staple, and it is the luxury brand of Nissan. But to commemorate its 32nd birthday, through their news channel, infinitynews.com, they've made a brand origin series, and it's an 8-part series, and it's set to reveal the founding principles, to kind of reiterate what the founding principles of Infinity and what they are. When I saw Origin series, I had to tell myself this is not a superhero movie. By the way, it seems like everybody's using
Any,
that.
any, need a backstory? All right.
Yeah,
What do you
yeah.
got? Hit me.
But I'm gonna just let this up. Honestly, man, I got a chance. This is an 8-part series. Each episode is 5 minutes long. So in total, it's a 40-minute documentary that talks about Infinity's beginnings, and it came from essentially narrated by a guy named Dean Leathers, who at the time was the Infinity product specialist, which is more like a communication role, and he was part of the original Infinity launch team. And so he has firsthand knowledge of everything that was going on behind the scenes. And honestly, the narration, the video, all the videography, it was beautifully done, man. It was. I actually they kind of it literally drew me in after every episode. I literally binged these things back to back. Gave me an hour, and I did it. So for any of you guys that are Infinity fans, or curious about how Infinity got started in the US, you owe it to yourself to check this series out, though. I don't want to give all of it away. Honestly, I'm not even going to read from the site. I'm just going to let you know the high points, the things that I really enjoyed from these videos that really, dude, the guy's nerding out. I mean, it just this he's speaking my language, man. So
No, I mean that's
uh,
cool if they put that much involvement in it. I love when you can take something and break it up into like a little mini series, and it gives them an opportunity to really get in depth while not, dare I say,
mhm,
be boring about it or being too long-winded.
yeah,
I had a chance to peruse through some of it. I'm only about halfway. I enjoyed it.
yeah,
And the nice thing, it was fully attainable. This is definitely something you can check out
yeah,
right there on infinitynews.com. And check it out while you can, because you never know. Sometimes this stuff kind of has a tendency to disappear over time,
yeah,
or you got to go hunt for it later on. Check it out while
yeah,
you can. It's
yeah.
definitely worth the read. Get up on your infinity knowledge.
Yeah, I wanted to share a few things, man. A lot of things I didn't know about this too. And if, again, I'm going to paraphrase a lot of this though. But did you know that there was what's called a Horizon Task Force, which was a 1-year study about the viability of a Japanese luxury car in the US. This is a study that Infiniti did before even getting started, before even announcing themselves as a brand. They had to make sure that it was feasible to actually have a successful luxury car in Japan. They really explained how they were looking at all the German luxury cars and all the American luxury cars. And he goes, we didn't want to out, literally, I'm paraphrasing here, but they would say, we don't want to out German the Germans. We don't want to out British the British when it comes to these American cars. We want to be decidedly our own and to be different. And really, really cool about how they defining luxury as respect for your time, respect for the customer's time, making the better use of their customer's time. That was one of their principles of defining luxury. So, really cool. They were actually really centric about the human experience as the customer. They would call their customers honored guests, and the way they would treat them at the dealership. It wasn't about it wasn't the transaction. They said up until this time, even with luxury brands, the relationship between a salesman and a customer was purely transactional. It was just numbers, get it over with. But what Infiniti did as part of this launch, this brand launch, was to really make it about their experience, to make them feel like they were, again, this honored guest. That was a very reoccurring theme throughout all these videos. So they talk about the Q45, which is really, really cool. Of course, that was their flagship, the first Infiniti model that they had. And they talk about elegance through simplicity. Man, they had these amazing quotes throughout this entire time. But again, elegance through simplicity, and exhilaration without the fear factor. That was kind of cool too. It kind of gives you an idea of what they were really shooting for, even performance-wise, from the Q45, though. But anyway, if you are a fan of Infiniti, or even if you're an Infiniti salesman, I would definitely encourage you to watch these things. I think you can learn a lot about it, especially have a little bit of a history course on how Infiniti kind of launched and what its main pillars and what its principles were. So definitely worth a watch. Highly recommend this thing, man.
Nice, good,
Yeah.
good find, man. So yeah, for those that get a chance, an opportunity to check that out, you can do it through the Infinity News website. We'll probably throw a link up here in the Nissan Nerd podcast. You can check out on
Yep.
Facebook as always. So jump in on that. Um, Now we also got some additional news, some big news that actually came down the pipeline just in the last day or so. Some big news from Nismo, Nissan North America. So I'll actually show this real quickly. And Mike, meow, meow, meow. Let me show everybody with this. We actually got some really good, some new news that's interesting
Mm-hmm.
from the Nissan global page from the newsroom. So apparently, there's going to be a change for the Super GT 500 class series for going from this point on for 2022. So Nissan will not be putting any GTRs or the R35 GTR into the 2022 GT 500 class for Super GT,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of I don't know. To me, it's either something that's just a huge change, or that's going to tell us that there's something different that's definitely coming down the pipeline. I'm not going to speculate too much on that. We'll talk about that here in just a few moments. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of history with the GTR and the within the Super GT series, and I'm just going to go a little down the list. But
Okay.
and I'm taking away from the story here and a few other stories we read for the information, but it's basically been victorious a total of 41 times over 14 competitive seasons, which is the record for the most number of wins for a model, any model in the GT 500 in history at this time.
Mm.
So that's competing in 113 races, pole positions 36 times, 41 victories, five driver champions, and then four team champions, one, two, three finishes twice,
Oh wow.
which is
Really?
always cool. Yeah,
That's
crazy.
that's awesome.
Now, so for those that are getting worried, again, this is in the 500 class. Nissan will still continue to run the GTR in the 300 classes, which you and I talked about here over the last few episodes, which is still strongly heavy in the 300 class, which over the last few years was kind of interesting to see the GTR make its way into the 300 classes. We were used to seeing like the Z competing or something of that caliber in the Nissan line competing in the 300 series. The 500 typically was reserved for the GTR. But I mean, with this coming out, Mike, I don't
Hmm.
know. I've had a lot of reservations. I've had a lot of questions or concerns.
Yeah.
So there's rumors that a new GTR is coming out. That's pretty quick
Yes.
between
Yes.
the race series for that to happen. So I think that we're not going to see a new GTR compete in the GT 500. So which leads me to believe maybe the new Z is either going to be fielded in the 500 class, which would be
Yeah.
pretty amazing, or they're just not going to run the 500 class and step into the 300 class and concentrate on something else.
I would like to think that it's the first proposal that you made. I mean, I can't imagine, like you mentioned, you mentioned Nissan's history with the GT 500 class. I can't imagine them backing out now. Even if they wanted to back out, I would imagine they would have done that at the as soon as the pandemic hit. You know what I mean? They would have used the reason to really justify backing out. So I really hope that what they're doing is just leaving that spot open for some news that we should be getting hopefully in the next couple of weeks, a couple of months from now, involving the new Z taking its place. I'm going to play dumb for a second here. Just, you know, the GT 500 class, that is it, comparing to the GT 300. The 500 class is the higher class. Is that
Correct.
that is correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so
So yeah, and for just quick schooling on Super GT, and for those that don't get a chance to check out that series, we obviously talk about it because it's really high performance racing. It's obviously been a series that's been going on for a long time, and Nissan's taken a huge part of it hit there in Japan. And quite honestly, they do very well every year. They put a lot of financial backing into it for Nissan to be part of that. But again, the 500 series is the upper
yeah.
scale, if you will, in that, and the 300 is the smaller class. That's all defined by displacement and I believe wheelbase and some other things as well. So
Okay. That's what got me to think, though, too. I mean, it's actually really surprising to me then, because if you compare the Z to the GTR has always seemed to be, even just based on price point alone, it's been that flagship. But the fact that they're keeping it in the 300 ranks and they're using potentially not official yet the new Z as the higher class, that's impressive, at least to me. I mean, that's a pretty bold change.
I
You would
think you
think,
get to a point, yeah, and it's just like we'll take NASCAR for instance here. They're all running tube
Hor-
chassis, and
horrible,
they're like,
okay.
and it's like Toyota. I know, horrible reference, but you'll see on the front of that like this all-out car, it's Toyota Camry, and you're just like, that is
Sure.
not a Toyota Camry. Chevy
Uh-uh.
Lumina. I'm like, that is no Chevy Lumina. I mean, by the time they take the development that they put into these cars, I mean, really anything could be feasible. They had pretty good success with the Z's. We're talking the Z33 chassis when they came
Mhm.
out. They ran in Super GT. I mean, some of the Motul and the Zanavi ones that came out were still to this day legendary. The Advan ones. I mean, they were just historic cars that I still have collectibles on, and I still have all the data and the footage and the racing on DVD from, because it was just so good at that time. So to see a Z step into the 500 class for Super GT, I think you're right. I think that's probably the way it's going to go. Now it's going to be really interesting to see how Nissan spends their money for 2022 in the racing as we kind of as the racing seasons begin to die down and go through.
Yeah.
Nissan will probably put its official um, money. How they're going to put into motorsports, they call it their motorsports budget internally. We usually see that around April. So that's when you see what Nissan's going to be doing for collectively assisting with car shows, events, merchandising, marketing, and the motorsports budget is part of that. They typically look at that, and that's usually when we'll talk about how Nissan is spending that motorsport dollar and what
Okay.
they're putting it into it. Me personally, I say, hey, continue with the Super GT, grassroots, baby. Put that Z in everything stateside
Yeah.
that it can. I mean, really get into the SCCA support. At that level,
Yeah.
I really want to see more of the Rebel Rally stuff. I know it's not the Z we're talking about,
Yeah.
but I really want to see the motorsports budget stretch between that. I want to see the new Frontier and stuff. I want to see the new Z and stuff. But that's just me. How Nissan chooses to spend its dollars, and
Yeah.
you know I mean, that's up to them. So, we haven't totally ignored the chat, but we got a lot of people that are hitting us up right now.
We
We
do.
probably need to talk about that here for a second.
Let's take a moment here and connect with you guys online. Again, thanks for being here. We have really just breezed through these first two articles, so let's get back to you guys. Of course, we've got Amon in the house saying what's happening. We got Orlando saying Miles is looking extra hot today. Now, hot because you're wearing a jacket, or is he coming on to you? I don't know what's going on.
That's all
I
right,
was going to call
Orlando.
you out on your attire. That jacket. I think you wore that to the last car meeting we were at. That's fairly new. I haven't seen you with that before.
Well, I'll have you know that this is and I sound like such a trendy, but this is I actually got this from our good friend Steve Yeager
Oh,
from Nissan. He retired and he says, you know what? I don't need this old stinky jacket and old stinky clothes. So he gave me his hand me downs like I'm his little brother. And quite honestly, I absolutely love this jacket. And to me, it has some history to it. And honestly, I love Steve too as well. So I wear it with pride. And yeah, so I'll go ahead and take it off since it's such a talking point, and I'll be
you're
weird
gonna.
about it.
So you don't want to distract everybody watching with
I don't
us.
want to
Is that what it
distract from
is?
my hotness, but yes, thank you for mentioning my hotness, Orlando. Yeah,
Yeah.
going back to your Infinity article, Dan Zubkov, who is a roadster god, by the way. Good luck on he's finishing out his massive roadster garage slash. Basically, it's probably a museum to everything that's roadster out there. Whenever I have a
Yeah.
roadster question, I call Dan.
Fair
I'll
Lady
put it that.
Roadster. Yeah.
But he mentioned he goes the M30 rocks in the for your Infinity article, which I would agree it's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
M30 was good. One of my favorite Infinities that everybody seemed to not want to talk about that I really enjoyed because I drove the piss out of one time
Okay.
was the M45. It was a fat
Mm.
beast of a car. It was
Yeah.
towards the last days of all the M series at that time, and you
Okay.
just got a big old engine. You got a big old fat body, and it handled pretty decently. It would get up and go, but it was still like one of those like semi VIP style Japan cars that I really enjoy. So just something to kind of talk about. Let's see
Badass.
who else we got. Caleb actually chimed in here. We're talking about the Super GT article. Considering Toyota uses the Supra for the GT 500 series, it would make sense for the Nissan Z to face off against it.
Face off.
Yeah,
Yeah. Makes
yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
sense.
Supra's competing in the 500 series. They actually have not been doing bad this year. Nissan hasn't been doing bad either. But yeah, it's going to be kind of a toss up. So it's interesting to see if I can't see Toyota bumping down the Supra for anything else in their lineage right now because I don't see anything hot that's coming out of Toyota right now as far as sports cars other than the Supra because they've kind of made their bed with that and they're kind of just laying in it. But that's just
Mm-hmm.
my 2 cents, unless I don't see anything else that's coming down the pipeline. So
Miles has a guest spot on the Toyota Nerd podcast next week. Actually,
I would be shunned. what is it? I'd be stoned. So I would literally be tied up and stoned at every car meet that I
Bludgeoned,
went to. So
hit with
bludgeoned.
with big effing rocks. Yeah.
I would just be hit with old Nissan carburetors, and that's it. Just that's it. Alternators. So that's it.
Oh
All
man,
right, so let's
cool.
move on down the line. We got more to cover, Mike. It's
We
about
do.
time for you to knock out news in 60 seconds so we can stay on task. Hit it.
We do, we do. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen on this one, guys. Of course, what we like to do with every episode is cover as many topics as we can. Can't do all of them, so we like to do a flash round of some other Nissan news happening this week. So let's go ahead and hit it. I'm going to go ahead and give you uh, the best, fastest rendition as I can. So let's go ahead and go with it. First one here. Reservations are now open for the new 2023 Nissan Ariya electric crossover. Of course, we've talked about this many, many times. This is since the Nissan Leaf. This is the next all-electric vehicle making its way. There are 4 models available that you can make or pick out of your reservation lineup. MSRP starts at the reservation MSRP starts at 45,950. Moves on up from there. Just a quick reminder: 300 miles on a full charge. That's what they're advertising. The first 10,000 reservations that are made between now and the end of January qualify for a free 2-year EVgo membership plus $500 in charge credits. So a little bit of a perk. I mean, an extra $500 for trying to get in the door early with the new Ariya. So want to go ahead and just give them quick shout
Wandos
outs.
Cuestas, what's the MSRP? How much is it gonna run me, and what is the payment plan look like?
What's the payment? Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on. Let's moving on. Let's go with the next article here. The 2022 Nissan Rogue will feature Nissan's all-new 1.5 liter variable compression turbo engine.
It's
Now,
been that
uh-huh,
engine has been in development for a long time, man. You and I have talked about
yes,
that for a while. We've
yep,
seen it, like them showing it off and doing all this crazy stuff. I kind of figured that it was going to make its way into something that's flagship,
yeah.
but I'm really interested to see how this is going to play out. So,
What's really cool about this too, Miles, is that yes, you are absolutely right. We've talked about these variable compression turbo engine for a while now. That configuration debuted in 2019 with the
yep,
Infiniti class QX50.
correct.
Yeah, as a
If I remember
four-cylinder,
right.
as a 2-liter four-cylinder. Since then, it has won numerous awards. It has best-in-class engine fuel economy and best-in-class torque. This is an all-new engine that's made in Tennessee. Now, these numbers, I want to let you know about this engine, this 1.5 liter. So it's a smaller engine as opposed to the 2-liter that we've talked about in the past. Um, Compared to what the Rogue has now, it gives you an 11% increase in horsepower, up to 201 horsepower. It's got 225 pound-feet of torque, which is a 24% increase. That's a huge jump in torque. Uh, 33 miles to the gallon. That's an extra 3 miles maximum, miles gallon. Here's the tricky part. I didn't read this. This was the last thing I read, and it was really, really cool. This is a 3-cylinder, Miles. This is a 1.5 liter 3-cylinder variable compression turbo car. The 2-liter we've always talked about in the past was a 4-cylinder. So they've taken that
Yep.
same design, shrunken it down, essentially just cut a cylinder off if you think about it, and it's what they call the most advanced engine Nissan has ever produced in the United States.
They
So it's
done
going in the
stole
new
my
Rogue.
cylinder. They done stole my cylinder.
Well, I'm honestly I'm curious now. I've driven in the Infiniti that had this engine, the 4-cylinder version. I'm curious to see what it's like to be in a 3-cylinder engine like this, because I'm sure you remember this too. When you're in a 4-cylinder engine, and let's say you just turn the AC on, you can tell how
You
much
feel the
drag.
power
Yeah,
sucking.
the Rob. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. To me, I'm curious. What does that do to a 3-cylinder, man? I mean, like at least on idle. I mean, especially when you're at a stoplight, you know when the AC compressor's on. So I want to know what it's like with this new Rogue, man.
I'm
Personally.
telling you, we're like years away from going to like cylinders that are shaped as big as basketball hoops that are just like two strokes. And we're just going back to that. And we're just like, what? We're doing two strokes again? All right, whatever. So I don't know what to think anymore, man. Everything is getting crazy. But yeah, that's pretty intense that they went to these three cylinders. It makes can I just say one thing? Every time
Yeah.
you buy that spark plug box, You're just gonna have that one extra bastard that's left over that you're gonna be kicking around for like the next 6 months until you do the next change. You know what I
That
mean?
one
Like,
extra, they give you a spare. Yeah,
oh my god,
throw it in your
I
glove
hate that.
box. Yeah.
You know, it's funny. Volkswagen made a 5 cylinder, and I used to always change out the wife's spark plugs on that thing
Yeah.
when we first started dating. And it was like you'd always have that stupid
Th-
box left over, stupid
They're
because the math wasn't right.
yeah,
The
they're
math.
messing with
It's like
everybody's OCD, man.
I know it's like the hot dog and the hot dog buns. There's freaking 8 hot dogs in the
Yeah.
package, and there's 6 buns. For real, can you guys just have a meeting and make that happen? You know what I mean? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, moving
It
on
would
with our lives.
satisfy a lot. Yes. I got one more or two more for you, Miles, as part of our news in
Before
60
I
seconds.
wanted to, and I'm just going to drop a rumor on you real quick.
Okay.
Gone in 60 seconds. I'm going to throw a rumor on you, but I heard that the Nissan Leaf
Okay.
is actually going to potentially transition to a mid-size SUV. That is the rumor I heard just
Mm,
the other day. There's a little news about it, but not enough to where I feel comfortable standing on that just right now. That was
yeah.
all. I'm just going to throw that in your court in case somebody wants to talk about it in the feed. Boom. And go
Interesting.
on to your next.
Interesting.
You can go on to your next article. That was it.
Okay, okay. Now, speaking of rumors, I do have one more for you. This is not official, but there was a leak. Supposedly, this was based on a Facebook post. They're saying that Nissan sent out emails to its dealerships just this morning regarding reservations for the new Z car, and they're saying that it's going to be currently stands. It's not confirmed, but you should dealerships should expect to accept officially Z reservations to begin sometime after January 3rd. So essentially, first thing 2022, dealerships should be able to start taking in reservations for the new Z,
Makes
which is very
sense.
exciting, of course.
I heard they were already taking them now, and you didn't know if that was true, and
Yep.
it was BS. And I heard people would show like receipts of like $100 or
Well,
$1,000. And I'm like, there's so much like weird news going on, but it's good to know that we have some official news, or official potential official
the
rumors that we
official
think is
rumors.
official.
It's like
Official
oxymoron.
rumors. Yeah, I know it does. Yeah, it kind of just
Yeah.
oxymoron, but
No,
yeah, it's kind of
yeah.
nice to know that that's coming out. So yeah, all right.
It definitely is, and I know in the past we've talked about this about we actually thought that reservations were going to be were to begin this month actually, but it's
Correct.
not the case. So in this case, that rumor is being bumped to January. But and then you are right though. There have been a number of reports about dealerships accepting deposit money for the new Z. Although there's not an official reservation list, just local dealerships across the country are just trying to be just creative. I mean, being capitalists, saying, "Hey, we'll take your money, sure. Yeah, you want to come in sooner? That's fine. We'll just make an advanced list. At least locally, you'll be the first on your block to grab one. I guess,
I
regardless."
promise you, sir, you will be the first. And in the next, I promise you, sir, you will be the next. So, yeah. All right, let's go down the line here. You got some
Keep on
we
going.
got some other happy news and a little sad news that we have to talk about here, but
Uh,
I'll let you take the first. We
yep.
got a birthday to recognize. All right.
Yes, we do. This week is the 85th birthday of Peter Brock. Peter Brock, of course, a not only a Nissan Datsun pioneer, just trailblazer, just for the automotive industry as a whole. Peter Brock has been very, very influential for many, many cars, both American and import. Of course, the 63 Corvette split window was his creation when he was with GM. As a teenager, that was one of his creations. He moved on to Shelby American, and was responsible for the Shelby Daytona. But most importantly, we're talking about the man who put together BRE, Brock Racing Enterprises. Of course, he brought Datsun a number of victories with the 510 and with the S30 chassis Z car. Uh, SCCA champion, was it seven? I think it was like 3 years in a row, early 70s. I think later on with the 510 as well. Um, BRE is still in operation. Actually, if you go to this is his Facebook here, Peter Brock Designs, and then you also have a BRE company page. still kicking, man. Always doing business. We've seen him at ZCon actually just this year.
Mm,
Got to see the guy again, and he's just a great to be around. I mean, uh, just want to say happy birthday to the guy, and I just wish him the best, and hope he's in good health, and we hope to see him again in these future ZCons to come.
yeah, yeah, very good.
Yeah,
So, a little bit of bad news. Well, unfortunate news that of the recent passing of the legendary Bob Bondurant. And let me go ahead, Mike.
gotcha.
All right. So, wanted to take a little bit of time for those that didn't know. Unfortunately, Bob Bondurant did pass away this last week. He did pass away at the age of 88 at his home in Paradise Valley, Arizona. For those that are unaware of Mr. Bondurant's history, he was. In short, a legend. He's the only American to bring home a world title
Mm,
for uh, and he was also inducted into 10 separate halls of fame. For those
wow.
that don't know, yeah, he's widely considered one of the most iconic race car drivers of the 60s and to present day as well. For those that don't know as well, he had a school, the Bob Bondurant School of Racing. And
Mhm.
let me see here. He trained over 500,000 people
Ooh,
worldwide to race safely at his location. Some of those are Nicolas Cage. Obviously, a lot of the staff from the most recent Ford versus Ferrari movie. Tons of celebrities, and then of course tons of regular Joes like myself who just wanted to learn something from a legend like this. Um, there was a recent quote on his website that I really did enjoy as of late. It said, "My life has been lived in two halves. The first becoming a world champion driver. The second was teaching the world to become champions."
wow.
So that's on the official driving school page. For those that haven't don't know the history of Bob Bondurant and Datsun, he was originally when he was starting up his driving school, he reached out to Datsun, who was still a up and coming. Brand at that time, and started utilizing the Roadster and the Z early on in that uh, in his driving school. We've actually posted up two really good articles about that. One is the Tale of the Bondurant 240Z. The other one is the Bob Bondurant pages. That's actually available from the Datsun from. From Bob's personal, excuse me, Mr. Bondurant's personal collection. But the Tale of the Bondurant 240Z is an article we threw up under Z Stories. That is really detailed, and I really enjoy that. There's a lot of people's mention also from the old sport compact cars, like Dave Coleman. If you get an opportunity, it's a really good read, and it does talk a lot about the intricate details with the Datsun involvement that he had for those number of years after his crash, his horrific crash that he had in the 60s. But again, it's just an unfortunate event that he would be passing away. But at 88, he definitely lived a life that we will definitely be talking about for a long time, and he will be missed. Yeah.
Rest in peace. Our condolences, of course, to the Bondurant family. Rest in peace, Bob Bondurant.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yes, sir. You want to move on with motorsports?
I do. Let's talk about the next thing here. Speaking of motorsports, we did talk about Super GT and how things are changing up, but we also do want to talk about what's currently happening in Super GT. Round seven of Super GT recently did just wrap up in the last week. Before last week, and I want to talk to you a little bit about it. So in the background, I'll be showing you round seven of 2021 Super GT that happened in Motegi just this past week. A few things that I wanted to mention here is an outstanding um, job for the Calsonic Impul GTR team, who on Saturday's practice, that was 11-6, they
Hmm.
actually did their practice, ended up in 11th place. In qualifying, they put a really good effort forth and came into fourth, finishing out in Saturday's qualifying. In Sunday's race, they actually put a little bit more on the table and they ended up finishing in third. So Calsonic Impul GTR, again, one
Nice.
of my favorite teams out there. For those that don't know, I am a huge Calsonic Impul fan. Amazing to see them come up in third, especially in round seven with one more race coming down the pipeline. It's really, I hope they continue on with fielding a car for next year. So I'm thinking if we see a Calsonic Z, that would be extremely interesting for next year. So I don't know. Fingers crossed. I don't think anybody knows anything right now. Right now, they're still focused on what the job that they have in front of them, which is finishing strong for the upcoming round eight. So going
Okay.
into GT 300 class, I did want to draw some attention to one of our favorite teams, which was the Realize Nissan Automobile Technical College
Mm,
GTR. Coming into practice, same thing. They did very. They started working their way up, holding back their speed, and finished strong. In ultimately Saturday's practice, they came in a little behind at pacing at 15th place. In
mm.
qualification, they ended up moving up the ranks into 7th place. And then
Wow.
when the on race day, Sunday, they actually finished out in third. Again, really strong commitment by the Nissan teams. For those that didn't get an opportunity to check those out, I would highly recommend going back and watching those. We'll obviously put a link up on those, with everything that happened and all the outcomes from the drivers and the team managers. But again, kudos, to finish third in both those places for
Hmm.
both 500 and 300. Um, I'm truly impressed, and I'm glad that we had an opportunity to put our best foot forward. Going into the last round, this will be round eight at Fuji. That happens the 27th and the 28th. That'll be the final race for Super GT for 2021. We will be obviously putting up links on the Nissan Nerd Facebook page. Highly recommend you watch it. Obviously, we'll give you a summation of everything that happened, and also just go back and watch the racing. It was a really good race. This round seven, highly competitive. I feel like Nissan really pulled it out. Go back and watch it. I enjoyed it. I watched it twice. So yeah, but
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, you said going from 15th to 7th in the GT five
for the
300
realized team,
class.
yeah.
You've been
Well, I
talking
mean,
about that technical college uh,
Well, I
their
mean,
results pretty often.
last year
Yeah.
they kicked ass. They took the whole thing, and this year they're still doing well. They're very competitive. So, and that's what you can only ask for a team. Wins are great, but staying competitive, staying in the points, that's
Hmm.
always it's sometimes what you need to finish strong at the end. So,
Yeah. Side notes. I was distracted by the Umbrella Girls there. Would you say that the uh Umbrella Girl concept started at GT 500 or GT class? You think Super GT or
uh,
I don't know
you
where did
know,
what was the first time you saw
uh,
an Umbrella Girl? Side note, just all.
Man, we're talking 60s, brother. I mean, because
Okay.
that's when it started back in those days. I mean, they would have, it was all about product placement. You'd have a sponsor come out, they want pretty girls, and next thing you
Mhm.
know, you're having ladies in bikinis, and that's how it's kind of always gone. I think Japan has just kind of carried on that, and the rest of the world just kind of has either done it. You still see it in F1. You've seen some Red Bull girls and some other stuff. I mean, but
Sometimes, yeah, yeah.
let's not take away from the drivers who put everything toward. Not to, nothing
Yes.
against umbrella girls who don't eat anything and they have to look in the bikini. Kudos to them. But yeah, I mean,
Hey, they're athletes
who's
too.
got,
Yeah, right.
who's got the tougher job? Who's got the tougher job that day on Sunday on race day? Come on. Mm.
That's an
All right.
awesome recap,
So
man.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, going down the line, let's talk to some of our folks here.
yeah,
Yeah, Jeff Agner mentioned bre2.net. If you want to check that out, yeah, sure, why not? We'll do a
that's
plug.
Peter Brock's
Who cares?
business site, BRE. Yep, that's just it.
Oh, we
Always
love
got me
Peter
too.
Brock.
Yeah, bre2.net. Like that was a very early on domain selection, and they stuck with it. They own it, man. It's I mean, it's recognizable. You know where it's coming from or where you're going. You know, bre2.net. Yeah.
Yep, yep. All right. So going down the line, Mike. Obviously, Formula E is kaputs. Sentra and Micro Cup Series is kaputs for
Hmm.
2021. So that is done. We'll keep you updated as we step into 2022. Again, interesting to see how Nissan's going to be doing Formula E for 2022,
Yep.
and how they're going to continue that on. I still think it's a great investment for them. A lot of changes. I've seen a lot of marketing behind the Formula E and Formula One
Yep.
in the last like 2 or 3 months. Some really aggressive articles talking about how people should be watching Formula E versus F1, and I'm like, I don't know about that, but I will say that it is a damn good series. So for
It
those that have
is.
not checked out the Formula E, it's worth the watch. Sentra Micro Cup Series, I absolutely think it's super cool. We would love a little more race to race involvement. I'd like to see some
Yeah.
more in-car footages. I didn't feel like I got a lot of that this year. That's my only drawback from this last season. I still will wholeheartedly watch it, but I really want to see
Yeah.
more in-cabin footage. I want to talk to I want to hear a little more about drivers, how the series is going as a whole. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just me,
And
but
and it is a summer series, so those races, it's at least this year it was
it's fast,
6 weekends, and it was 2 races a weekend. So it
and
goes
it went
by very
fast. Yeah,
fast, and
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so it was a little hard to you know keep up on a bi-weekly basis. Before we knew it, half the races were gone. But um, if you go to the Cup TV channel on the YouTube channel, really good reviews, really good features on some of the drivers. I think it's definitely a growing grassroots league. I don't really see it going anywhere lately. They just added the Sentra, for God's sake. Before it was just the Nissan
Yeah.
Micra. So it is a growing league. More and more drivers gaining in popularity. So we definitely
I
look
hope we
at
see a
seeing
cup
more.
series for the Z coming out. For this new Z that's coming out, I really want to see a cup series.
Yeah,
So I don't know if anybody's listening from Nissan. Hey, cup series. I'm just saying
you
it
talking about
wouldn't be that
Spec
bad.
Z? You think like a Spec
Spec
Z type of
Z.
thing,
Yep.
or
Yep.
yeah,
Yep. Yep. Spec Z. Just yeah, run it in the
yeah,
Northeast.
yeah.
That's how they got all the tracks out there. You got all the support. Tennessee's right there. I don't know. Just talking, but.
Good point.
Going down the line, we've got other things to talk about. We're actually doing a car feature this time, right, Mike?
We are, we are. So I wanted to bring up this feature, this segment. Every time to time we do call out a special type of car or build or something of significance. And I saw this, and I just want to come to you with this feature as an F1 fan. For those not until recently, but for a long time, Infinity was a marquee constructor in the F1 league. Of course, we're talking about the Red Bull team back in well, let's just say they just withdrew, let's say 2 years ago. But with the Red Bull team, they were also part of the success that one of their drivers had, Sebastian Vettel. He was he still is, of course, a four-time F1 champion. And little known fact, I found this ad. I'm literally gonna show you an ad. Let's just go with it here. But this is a limited edition Vettel edition of the Infiniti FX50. And I had never seen this until I saw this ad. And it's weird how I find these things. I mean, this ad that you see here is from a Polish uh, buy sell trade ad. Of course, everything's in Polish. I had to translate it to learn more about it, and then I started to dig deeper and get into the Googles and get into the YouTube videos and the Wikipedia of everything, though. But this is a 2013 Infinity FX50. Vettel edition. Of course, at this time, Vettel was a two-time reigning champion. This was a special edition. This kit here, I'm going to go through a few pictures though, but this kit, this version that you see here, was actually Sebastian Vettel was very much involved in the creation to create this special edition, and we're talking obviously the body work, the aerodynamic work, the suspension. You've got uh, lightweight BBS wheels as a factory option. Um, Going through the line here, of course, you got leather seats, stitching, kind of a carbon fiber inlays in the doors, also on the dash, right there. You had so the factory engine is a 5-liter V8. This one itself, where is it at here? I had it. Actually, I have another article here for you. Was pushing here was it 400 and 420 horse. There you go. 420 horses. That's 30 horsepower more than the S edition FX50. So tweaks in the engine. It was made into a 7-speed automatic transmission. Of course, like I said, the suspension modifications, all from the factory. These are factory options. Only 150 were made. So the fact that someone's trying to sell one used on Facebook, this is kind of a rarity in its own to see one of these things. This
So you got a juiced up V8 sandwiched with a 7-speed box. Yeah,
Yep.
man. And a revised gear ratio. Wow. So Jesus Christ.
Absolutely. Now, Sebastian Vettel had some special logos. I think I mentioned it here. You can kind of see his special signature logo throughout the vehicle. Um, from the factory, the starting price was $120,000. This particular ad, I had to translate this, by the way, but they're looking at over $600,000. I'm like, it's one of 150. So I mean, it's only been it's going to be 8 years since this thing's been out. It's an 8-year-old vehicle. I mean, it looks impressive. I really like what
Well,
happened here, and I really love what this collaboration that Vettel did with Infiniti back then.
I'm, I'm reading
Uh,
your little fact sheet here. 5.6 seconds to hit 100. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, that's
0 to 60 in 5.6 is 100 kilometers. Everything's in kilometers because the majority of these things were sold in Europe. So
yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, dude, it's impressive, but you weigh your options on
yeah,
what you're doing, which makes sense. They probably just did it more of a showpiece. Yeah. How many of these things they pump out? 50?
it says globally just 150 available, 50 for Western
Oh,
Europe. And by the way, that $120,000, had you bought it brand new from the Infiniti dealership, also included a money can't buy motoring experience. And what that included was VIP invitations to exclusive events, HDPE training. You had F1 sessions in an F1 simulator. You got passenger rides in a 3-seater F1 car. And this got me. This is actually the funniest thing for me. It says here, owners are able to track the production status of their cars on complimentary bespoke iPads, which kind of gives you an idea. In 2012, 2013, of course, the bespoke iPads, tracking the production of their order through that.
yeah,
So
that was a thing for a hot minute. Like you would go to you'd have these cars that would match up to these like flip cameras, when those were a thing, like these USB cameras that you would just plug in. That was hot for a minute. I remember bands were doing that for a little while. You would just get this flip camera, and then you realize it was from China, and it was like $3 or $10 or whatever it took to pump out the production cost of it. And you're like, this is garbage. It's like, but at the time, it was probably a pretty cool little feature. I mean,
yeah.
at 660,000, I don't know, man. It is super cool and super unique. But if you're one of those guys that go for the super cool, super unique, and you want something that's kind of one off, at
Hmm.
the when Vettel was the king of it all, which that was a long reigning time. Yeah, it was pretty cool, man. I would dig it. Now if it was signed, I don't know,
Oh
maybe
yeah.
only
Well, that
was.
too. I mean, and they did say that Vettel has one of his own. I think he has like the first one,
Sure,
obviously, right?
sure,
You know, F1
sure.
inspired, all this other stuff. I will say though, I mean, as a automotive manufacturer, Infinity, I think it's very cool that they partnered the way they did. Vettel being the four-time champion, 4 years in a row, by the way, and then you've got these last 7 years, which has been a Hamilton dominance in F1. I haven't seen a Hamilton edition Mercedes. I'll just tell you that much. So kind of gives the advantage to Infinity for at least
And you probably won't. So not
yeah.
anymore. But
ex-
yeah, no,
yeah.
not anymore. But moving on, we will talk F1 politics. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's cool. These special production line cars, they're always interesting, always cool to see and kind of know about. But yeah, I'm glad it was made. But I don't know if I could get into that. But yeah, moving
Cool.
on.
Moving on,
So
moving on. Next
so
segment. What do you got? What do you
yeah.
got?
Oh, I was gonna say, I saw here that you threw a back alley chat. I haven't seen we haven't done a back alley chat in a hot minute.
It's
So
it's been a while. Last time we had an interview, and uh, you know, it
I'm busy.
it takes a lot of thought to really get a good topic for back alley chat. So I mean, this one I thought was be pretty cool, and I know Miles, yourself and myself, we've been in the Nissan community, in the car community for a very long time. We've made many purchases, not only of cars but car parts, either being from online distributors or just through Craigslist and Facebook. So what I'm getting at though is that as part of Back Alley Chat, the topic is deals. What kind of deals? Good deals and also bad deals. You want to kind of? I just want to kind of open the floor and let us share a story, at least one each, of good deals that we've made,
Deals.
bad deals that we made, and for those that are with us online, comment in the chats. And once we're done, we want to share
Tell us
whatever,
about your
whatever.
good or bad deal. Tell us how
Yeah.
good you burned somebody else, or how bad you got burned. so,
And I'm
uh,
talking literally, man. I'm sure you've may have experienced this in the past where somebody will tell you a price and in your mind to stay calm and give the money before he changes his mind. That's one thing. And then what I meant by bad deals, and I have one of these, which is a deal where you later discovered why it was cheap. It was cheap for a reason because there was something wrong that maybe you were deceived a little bit when you bought it too. But I want to
man,
let you go first,
you're
man.
going into like
Huh?
so many crazy stories. Like I've got an infinity. I've got a mountaintop full of just weird stuff like this, and you're asking me to select the top one.
Anything. Yeah.
Let me see. I'd probably have to say this new Nissan sign that I bought. I mean, I've talked about it once or twice.
Hmm.
I bought an 8 foot Nissan dealership sign for. I think I got it. It was so cheap. I forgot how much it was. It was like $120 or something like that,
Mm.
or $110. Massive. I mean, it's bigger than me, bigger than both of us put together. And it was like one that they put in the gigantic sky. That's the one I bought. But the only problem is with the sucker, I had to go and pick it up in the middle of like nowhere, and then it took like it wouldn't even fit in the trailer. It wouldn't fit in the box truck I had, and then it wouldn't fit in the trailer. So I had to like put it on top of the trailer and drive on the highway, super sketch style, make sure this
Ooh.
thing didn't catch air. But I mean, I got this at a really really cheap price of that, and I don't know. I would have thought a sign like that just and who needs a sign, right? It's like that's only for the super nerd. Like, the only reason I bought it just because it was so cheap, and but I mean that's probably been the latest thing I've ever bought.
Okay.
I said the worst thing I ever got was like I bought a little L4 series, like an L20B engine
Okay.
for a car that I was building, and I was like, oh man, I got the engine for like nothing, for like $100 or something. Guy was like, no, it's perfect, everything else great. I go to start breaking this thing down, and it's got more cracks in it than like. An old model's
Oh
face. I mean,
no.
it's just shot, stress cracks, everything. It's just trash. It's just a glorified paperweight. But I mean, that's what happens when you buy secondhand stuff, especially mechanical stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
you're always going to be like that. Datsuns, I mean, they're old and rusty, and sometimes you're going to buy it, and guess what? There's no floors left in this sucker.
Mm,
You're going to have to cut.
Very,
You're going
yeah.
to have to cut 40% of the metal out of this. And it's the way it goes. You're not going to find the survivors at this day and age anymore for the old 510s, for the roadsters, for the 240Zs. Just live with it. Just get used to the fact when you buy it, you're going to have to dump 40% of the metal is going to need love, and
Hmm.
that's just the way that life is right now. But anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
that's my general stories on, yeah,
Okay,
that's my story. Sorry,
okay.
you caught me off guard. Go.
Man, yeah. I've got a few, man, and I'll make a few honorable mentions, and I've got a pretty good one, I guess. But
All right, hit me.
actually, in terms of recent purchases, right? I had those RPF ones. I got a set of RPF ones for less than $700. All four
Nice.
corners. You got 9.5s in the front and tens in the rear. 10.5s in the rear. Hell of a deal, in my opinion. Uh, I swear to God, they're probably stolen. I don't know. They look clean. They look. It looks like they weren't taken off in a hasty in a fast quickly. In other words, um, other one was actually really funny. I think, which is I had for the 300ZX, the Z32, the HKS high power exhaust. Now that may not seem like such a big deal, honestly, but it was the time which I bought it, and this was back in 2013. Remember, at this point, HKS, the U.S. headquarters had just shut down. HKS products were getting harder and harder to find in the United States at that time because I guess they were closing up shop temporarily. They're back now, but in 2013, it was getting scary to find a decent HKS product that they weren't charging you a premium, to ship it overseas and whatnot. On Craigslist at the time, I found a HKS. I'm talking mints, beautiful. I mean, very good condition. $300 for a full HKS exhaust for the 300ZX. I mean, factory price for a new kit, 600, maybe close to 700 at that time. Actually, you know what? I saw them going to close to 800. And when I saw this listing selling it like it's no big deal for 300, I called the guy immediately. And you know what's funny? I didn't even have a 300ZX at that time. I was without a 300, but I knew it was a deal, and I knew I was going to have another 300ZX anyway. So I literally sat on it. I had this. I moved to. I moved this exhaust kit to like three different houses before I ever put it on a car, because because I knew it was that good of a deal. So that's how much I knew. So uh, other honorable mention for me is the Datsun, my little red Datsun here. I actually shared. I don't know if I've ever shared very many pictures with you guys online, but this is the Datsun. This is how I got it the day I received it, and I got it for $1,300. 73,000 miles, original, had the original mud flaps. The interior was still immaculate. Complete factory AC. There you go, 73,500. Got that for $1,300, and still have it. Still have it, man. Uh, last one
Okay.
from last one for me, dude, was the 300ZX, my black one, the twin turbo. You remember that one, don't you?
Yeah, I remember that one. So you say you
we
worked on that a lot. So, all right,
ah,
let's take some. Let's take some. Amon had one. He says here, my last 93 Pathfinder, bought for $1,000, had it for 5 years. Been across the states 3 times the last 4 years. Lost
woo.
it last year. Mike Tyson punch by a Jeep Grand Cherokee. Totaled both, but he bought an I-35 Infiniti. For those that don't know, came with the V6. Pretty nice ride. Should
Uh-huh.
have not bought it.
Ah,
93 octane only, and they did not take it to a mechanic like they said. Oh, come on, yeah. So Sunday only drove it on Sunday's car. Yeah, those don't really exist that much. So $2,300 with 116,000 miles. Did not see the rust until later. Ooh.
mm-mm.
East Coast. Yeah, no, I'm not really much of a guy who buys anything East Coast. Pretty much from like where San Antonio is in
Yeah,
Texas.
yeah.
Houston is like
You start to get
Maybe,
you're
maybe, and then and once it touches like the border of Texas and everything else, keep it.
it's
I'm
getting
not
harder.
interested whatsoever. But you buy all those desert cars out there, West Texas out.
Yep.
Shoot, man, New Mexico, Phoenix, California, if you can afford to find something out there. And that's the sweet spot, in my opinion, of where you're going to buy some cars. But sometimes you got to go to like if you want to find a 510, you got to go to like Oregon, you got to go to Washington, because they're all over the freaking place. California, I don't know. It's just certain cars you can find in certain regions because there's just more availability. Like if you want to find like a 240SX
Okay.
with an RB or something already done,
Yeah.
or a 240SX with an SR20, shop California, man. I know the prices are a little bit higher, but everything's already done. And like, because there was just so many of those freaking cars for the longest time. I don't know.
Yeah.
If you want to
Yeah.
buy a 350Z, go back in time because they're all destroyed now.
Would you
You want to
say the
buy a
350s? You think the 350, if not already, you think the 350Z is going to experience the drift tax in terms of
the
rarity?
350Z? It already did. And so the
You think so? Yeah.
240SX, yeah, the 240SX, the 350Z just got replaced with a 240SX. That's all it was. The 240SX market is just shot and weird and all over the damn place. 350Z market is exactly the same. 370Z market is kind of getting like that, but I feel like all these like younger guys that would destroy the cars and vape pen and go all whatever they do now,
Yeah.
I feel like those guys are getting into like Dodge Chargers and Mustangs, and I'm like, okay, great,
I'm
good
actually
riddance.
I s-
So I don't know.
the scene, if you will. Yeah, I've seen a lot of Chargers, man, like that. Hey, yeah, if they get away from using our Nissans, I'm okay with that.
I don't know. I just like I said, you know what I miss is clean Datsuns and clean Nissans. I don't know, and there's nothing wrong, and we support all types of modifications to your cars. Slams, tilted beds, slammed mini trucks. Slam Datsuns. We get it. We know you love it, but when it's done tastefully, is what we dig here. Me personally, that's what I dig. So just
Me
like
too.
I'm tired of going to shows and just seeing garbage like, $4 stickers just slapped all over a car. I just
Hmm.
Oh, and dents. I'm tired of zip tie front bumpers. I mean, I feel like I've had a decade of zip tied front bumpers. I'm kind of over it.
Yeah.
Just Megan coilovers. Nothing against Megan,
Oh, yeah.
but it's just like I'm kind of done with like the $200 Megan coilovers all around. Like I don't want to get in a car and lose a filling, in my teeth just because it rides so rowdy. Just I'm over it. Like it's just I'm into like clean, respectable stuff that pays homage to something. I'm really
It's
digging people what they're doing with like livery cars. Like they're taking just weird like Nissan Altimas and they're doing them up BRE style, or the old
yeah.
Datsuns and they're doing them up like a Datsun 620, like or they're trying to do stuff. I'd like to see some of the old 4x4 Datsun stuff, like the 720. I'd like to see like Spencer Lowe equivalent cars, the old Nissan hard body stuff,
That's
the
I
old
would imagine
stadium
that's
truck
coming
stuff.
too.
Yeah,
We
I
talked
don't know.
about that just a little bit. How the Frontier just recently kind of did that, the livery of the old hard bodies on the new Frontier.
I mean, I dig
Now from
that.
an enthusiast perspective, yeah, to have one of those would
Yeah,
be awesome as well.
yeah, that'd be super cool. But I don't know. We're just talking. But yeah, let's move along. So we're nerding out, and we'll
Spe-
just move
w-
on down the lines.
well, you're right. Well, on the topic of cars with a bunch of stickers and yeah, kind of ratted out a little bit. Sometimes, I do want to mention. Honestly, we're getting near the end of car season. Think about it; it's already November. Car
Yeah,
show season is drawing to a close. It's only in only a few areas where it's still fairly pleasant outside that you actually have a car show that you can go to. The first one here I'll share. Let's go with. This is actually our only one right now. Of course, we're talking about Radwood. We've been talking it a few times here. Essentially, this is an 80s and 90s theme party. You can dress up and then bring your 80s or 90s vehicle with you. All makes and models are accepted just within that year. That 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 within those 2 decades anyway.
Y- Yeah, and the only reason we're really talking about Radwood at this point is because it got bumped. So for those that
Yep.
don't know, it was supposed to happen in Austin here recently. Unfortunately, Austin said no bueno due to COVID restrictions, so they got kicked all the way to February 26th in Austin, Texas, this upcoming year in 2022. So if
Yep.
you're in and around the Texas area, it's probably a show I'd recommend checking out if you get an opportunity. So.
Now there is actually this weekend. There is one in Southern California. Does not say the actual location, but I'm sure if you go through Redwood's Facebook page, they might give you some more detail. But it looks like here, of course, Southern California having one in 2 days. So that is one. That's all the
Cool,
events
cool.
that we have at the moment, Miles. Again,
Yeah.
we're
Well, I mean, we're
everybody's
we're wrap. We're,
everybody's yeah,
I was
everybody's
saying we're wrapping up.
yeah, they're going from car shows to in the garage to project season eventually. Trying to stay warm and then maybe do a few mods to their car while
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
in the garage. So it's just that
I
that time of the year.
I would agree. Yeah, I mean it's that time of year. So again, for all those out there, yeah, we'll keep you abreast as we go into the beginning of the new year. We'll let you know if any news comes through. We've got some exciting interviews that are be planned as we carry in. We follow through for the end of the year and carry into the next year. Can't release too many big names right here, but it's going to be noteworthy. Some of the ones that we've got coming down the pipeline here, just in case anything falls through or we have to make a change in the lineup for 2022. We don't want to mention those names, but I can assure you keep tuned in. Make sure you're subscribing, liking, and sharing our page to be up on what we're going to be doing here in the future. If
Yep.
you have any questions or you know somebody that needs to contact us to talk about an event or potentially do an interview, if
Yep.
you are a driver, if you are an owner of a business that caters to the community, let us know. Contact us at info@nissannerd.com. Again, we want to give a shout out to our new fans who have reached out to us, and also want to give a shout out to everybody that's joined us here today.
Yep.
Again, thanks guys for attending and giving us some of your feedback, sharing some of your stories here with us here tonight.
Yeah, like you said, Miles. Well said. Again, if you are listening to us for the first time, we are available on a wide range of networks, both on the podcast networks. You can find us on our Facebook page. We have an Instagram and a YouTube channel. So feel free to add, like, and subscribe for us. If you also go to nissannerd.com, there is a really nice sort of directory. So if you do have your favorite, as you can see here, nissannerd.com, it'll help guide you to the many different ways that you can actually find us. So feel free to go into that though. But
All right.
yeah.
Well, yeah, and I guess this is the point where we start wrapping up the show here. I just want to say again, thanks to everybody for supporting us as we finish out the year. A lot of changes that we have planned for 2022. A few changes to some of our structures, and a lot of big news that we hope to start rolling out when we start rolling into 2022.
Yep.
So until then, I want to say to everybody, get in your garage and make something cool.
That's right, man. Miles, if whatever you have left, you have give a cheers, say kanpai everybody for yous with us. Woo, kanpai. Woo.
Uh,
What is are you biting a flashlight?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
I always have flashlights.
yeah.
Does that
Did-
look infected to you?
what is uh the doctor uh to quote one of my favorite comedians, my doctor called me fat but didn't call me fat at the same time. He had a flashlight and a tongue depressor And he says, "Open your mouth and say oink."
All right, that's enough. I'm done. I'm out.
All
See you
right.
later.
Night,
Bye.
buddies. Thanks, guys, for being here.
Good night. Bye.
Night, guys.